Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of NASCAR Heat 3 Career Mode. Today we go to Dover in Trucks and Xfinity and Kansas in the Cup Series. Kansas, a track we usually run awful at, and we have a rival going into this one, so it's probably going to be a rough day in Kansas. But in the Truck Series we had subscriber Mason Ettinger in the truck, and unfortunately we had some issues with the R&D stuff where the suspension wasn't up to 100 coming into this race, so certainly wasn't what we needed coming into Dover. He would unfortunately be down in the field in the mid-20s and unfortunately fall down to P29 as we came through to the last lap, making a bit of a mistake there as he got onto the apron, giving up a few spots. A very rough race for our truck. It was just a slow truck since we didn't have the suspension upgraded, so it was P30 for Ettinger. Now we cut straight to the Xfinity Series where we also had another subscriber, Kyle K17, a subscriber that's been here for a while. It was a special one-off here due for autism awareness. He is one of my subscribers that deals with autism, and he asked me to maybe give him a potential ride in this car for Dover, just as a little special thing. So I decided, why not? Let's do it for him. So we had K17 here in the car. He would come through to finish in the 4th position here at Dover, so a very strong result for him there, as Matt Tifft actually brought home the victory. So great job by Matt Tifft here in Dover. Now, unfortunately for us, we got to go to Kansas in the Cup Series, a track that, like I said, we struggle at a lot. And now we come into this one with a rival. I was not expecting good things at all here tonight in Kansas. Since we come through to complete our qualifying lap, it would be a 30.597 as we get ready to go green. It will be from the 15th starting position here in Kansas. So let's hope that we can have a little bit of luck on our side and have a strong run today here in Kansas.
Good evening, race fans. Tonight, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series is at Kansas Speedway for the running of the KC Masterpiece 400. Tomorrow is Mother's Day, and that means we're about a third of the way through this exciting NASCAR season. What better present for Mom than a win tonight at this 1.5-mile tri-oval? Who will make their way to victory lane and possibly submit a spot in this year's playoffs? Let's head down to the track and find out. Happy Mother's Day, everyone.
Alright, we're ready to go green here for the KC Masterpiece 400 at Kansas Speedway. Haley Deegan had an unapproved body modification during qualifying, so she is starting at the back, as Austin Dillon gave up qualifying position for new tires, so he's starting at the back, as well as our Hendrick Motorsports teammate William Byron failed technical inspection, so he will also be the third driver to start at the back of the field as we get ready to go green from the 15th starting position. Maybe a rough day in store for us here in Kansas now as the green flag is out and we are underway at Kansas. One of the big problems is Martin Truex Jr. starts right behind me as we take the green flag. We know he's not going to be very kind to us as we go down towards turns 1 for the first time. He is already on my bumper, giving us the bumper as we go down through turns 1, and he's going to push me up into Jamie McMurray and Chase Elliott, and sideways we go. Big contact already with Truex as we exit turn 2, heading down the back straightaway for the first time here in Kansas. Didn't take long at all for things to get very exciting here in Kansas. I immediately knew we were in for a rough night at Kansas, and Truex just not helping anything right now as we come out of turn 4. So it's going to be tough to get back to it because we never really have speed at this track. The best we can usually do is maybe like 11th or 12th. And usually on the long run, we don't even get inside the top 15. So I was very not excited coming through into this race. Now as we come out of turn 2 sideways there behind Paul Menard, almost taking him and myself out. Thankfully, we would get past Menard and move up to the top here as we came to lap 7 up to P12. At this point, as we came out of turn 4 in front of Jamie McMurray now, side by side with Martin Truex Jr. as we come through to cross the line. You see, he was stuck behind Steno, so we get in front of Truex now as we go down towards turns 1, and the caution's going to fly though, and now Truex is going to be starting on my outside for this next restart. This will give him an opportunity to maybe get into me now as we get ready to go green here as the green flag is back at lap 10 of 19 in stage 1. Truex already hitting me in the right rear now as we come across the line. He hooks me into the side of Stanos and he hits me again in the bumper, and into the infield we go now down towards the pit lane. But thankfully we hang on to the car here, but that completely destroys our first stage position, and now this would just completely kill us obviously for the rest of the stage. We were all the way back here. We would catch back up to these cars ahead, but we come straight to the final lap obviously now in the first stage, only up to P36, passing Haley Deegan for 35th. Certainly, Martin Truex Jr. now definitely going to be facing revenge if we can get to him. This is the third race in a row that we have collided with our rival of Truex Talladega. He tried to take me out, caused a big crash actually Dover, he tried to take me out earlier, and then obviously at the end we made a move on him, and then he ended up getting the best of it. And now here he has already gotten into me twice today, this time putting me in the infield. We get P34, I think it was, there in the first stage, as Keselowski did win the stage. Now, as we are certainly in for a rough night here, now as we get ready to start the second stage, but it's going to be tough. I will say this, the chances of us getting the TRUEX in this race are pretty low now, because he's probably well inside the top 10, and we have only done that one time in my history at Kansas, and that was due to pit strategy. Now as the second stage is underway here, 17 laps in this stage 2, as we head down towards turns 1 behind the 66 of Joey Gase. But now we just have to focus on trying to get up towards the top 20 or so. That's really kind of the goal, because we know we're not going to be a top 10 contender at Kansas. We know that every time we come here. So we're just trying to aim to get up into the top 20 here before the end of this second stage, and that would certainly put us in decent shape for the final stage as we come out of turn 4, dealing with a pretty loose car here, using that top obviously as much as I can as we cross the line to complete the first lap in this second stage here in Kansas. Keselowski continues to lead as we go down through turns 1, continuing this up and down season here in our career mode. We're coming off a win in Talladega, and we go to Dover and DNF, and it's just one of those seasons right now where we just can't be consistent. So that's certainly a bit of a problem. We need to work on our consistency here throughout the next part of the season. I think leading up to the midpoint of the season, actually, as we came out of turn 4 up into P27 at this point, closing in on the Benedetto's. We would look to his outside, and we would be able to come through to make the pass on him as well. But we would kind of slow down around here. We had struggled to move forwards at this point. Now as we come through on lap 12, only up to 23rd, so we had only gained a spot or two within the next 8-9 laps as we come through behind Chris Buescher at this point. Heading down towards turns 1, closing in on the end of the second stage, looking like we might be able to get a top 20 now as we go a little bit 3 wide there with Buescher and Preece as we exit turn 2, actually going to be ahead of Preece and Buescher now as we head down the back straightaway. A move to the inside now, Bubba Wallace, as we head down towards turn 3, and we would take over P20 from Bubba Wallace here with just a handful of laps to go in this second stage. And as we came through to the white flag now, Bubba Wallace still behind me, closing in on Alex Bowen, but you can see just once we get up to P20 and once we get some wear on these tires that we just don't quite have the speed at this racetrack. As usual, Chicago's the same way. We just can't find the speed that we need to at Chicago. This mile and a half, and obviously Chicago, the 2 mile and a half, we just struggle at so much now as we come through turn 3 and on the exit of turn 4 for the final time here in this second stage. We're going to come through to get a disappointing 20th place finish in stage 2. Keselowski wins stage 2 as well, as he is looking for, I believe, win number 2 on the season. And we would come to pit road to take 2 cans of fuel and 4 tires and get sent right to the back of 40th place for the start of this third and final stage. This has certainly been, other than the issues with TRUEX, this has been a typical Kansas race for us now as we get ready to go green. And we are underway here for the final stage, and the final stage is very short here in Kansas. Only 25 laps remain once we cross the line here. Looking to the outside now of Hailie Deegan as we go down towards turns 1. Eric Almirola all the way back here as well, as he has had a rough night. So Almirola not doing good at all here in Kansas as we go through turns 1 and turns 2, immediately getting up to this wall, because the middle lane is just the most dangerous with this setup that I have in the car now as we head down the back straightaway towards turns 3 on this first lap here in this third and final stage. Brad Keselowski has dominated this race, and he is pretty much just trying to make sure he doesn't make a mistake so he can run away with the victory to get win number 2, I believe it would be, on the season for Keselowski. Now as we look to the outside of Reed Sorensen as we go down towards turns 1, Martin Truex Jr. up to the second position. So certainly wasn't very happy to see that. If he was leading, I would probably have maybe thought about waiting on him to make sure he didn't win this race. But it continued to look like Keselowski was going to be the one that would drive away now as we would continue moving our way forwards there as we came out of turn 4. Now we got up all the way to P20 as we came to lap 47, just a few laps. We had gotten up to P20 now, closing in on the back of our teammate Byron, and we look to the inside of him as we go down the back straightaway down towards turn 3. So moving up to P19, passing our teammate and closing in on the back of our other teammate of Alex Bowman, who's battling with Paul Menard at this point. We continued to move up into the 17th position at this point now, on the outside at this point of Clint Boyer here on lap 50, so trying to take over P16 as we go down into turn 3 using this outside lane, but unfortunately the tires were starting to wear, and I could feel it at this point that I just didn't quite have the speed again. We were struggling to be able to pass these guys as came through the tile, now crossing the line to hit 18 or 17 laps to go as we went down towards turns 1. So 17th felt like maybe that was as far as I was going to get. Might be able to get a few slower cars up ahead and take a few positions away from them, like David Reagan and Ryan Newman and Austin Dillon all up here, which you don't expect to necessarily see there, as we actually get past Boyer as we go down towards turn 3, so take P16 away from him for the moment there as we get up towards the wall, but just losing the pace in the car lap by lap now as we come out of turn 4. Boyer back to the inside as we head down the front straightaway, coming through to cross the line, closing in on the back of Ryan Newman. And we're going to jump up to the top as we go down through into turns 1 and turns 2, but we go a little bit too deep into the corner. We can get into the wall there as we come through the center of the corner, and that's going to completely destroy the momentum that I had. And Paul Menard would close in on me. He would easily drive on past me, unfortunately. Now as it came to just 10 to go in this race, continuing to run the top, trying to stick with Paul Menard, but I made a mistake, and that puts us down to P18. Obviously, just not a good race here with Kansas as usual. Nothing new to me at this racetrack. I was just trying to hang on at this point to get to the end here in the final 10 laps as we drop down to the bottom in turns 3 and turn 4 just to see if I can gain anything, but the tires are so worn that I couldn't even get to the back of Paul Menard in that 17th position. But we would at least maintain the gap for now as we came through on lap 61 and just 6 laps to go when we crossed the line. Daniel Suarez behind us closing in, as well as we go down towards turns 1 in this 18th position. Still, once again though, we go a little bit too deep into turns 1 and we make another mistake, hitting the wall for the second time within the last 10 or so laps, and that completely destroys the momentum again to where Daniel Suarez would run me down and he would be able to make a pass as we came out of turn 4. At this point the tires just had nothing left, that I couldn't even battle with Daniel Suarez. He drives by as we hit 4 to go. He would drive away for the most part. Now as we came to 2 to go, he's still about 3 to 4 car lengths ahead as we go down into turns 1 in front of our teammate Byron. This time we slide into the wall, not too deep that time, but we just lose the back end and hit the wall again now as we fall down to P20 here with 2 laps to go. Everything's just falling apart at the end of this Kansas race as Michael McDowell is on our back bumper with a lap and a half remaining as we go down towards turns 3 and turns 4. I said earlier we're trying to get at least the top 20 here, and as we come out of turn 4, we're 1 spot short of it as McDowell is clear. Keselowski still leading on this final lap here in Kansas as we go down towards turns 1, looking to the outside now of the 34 of McDowell as we come through turns 1 and turns 2, using the momentum to my advantage up on the top lane now as we exit the second corner side by side with Michael McDowell. With enough momentum, we might clear him as we go down towards turn 3, and sure enough, we do clear him, so we're going to chop his nose a little bit there as we go through the center of the corner, going for a slide, and a rough night finally coming to an end here in Kansas as we come out of turn 4, heading down through the tri-oval. Brad Keselowski wins the race, and we come through to get a 20th place finish in Kansas. And like I said earlier though, very expected to have a rough day at this racetrack. We know every time we come here it's not going to go well, and unfortunately we got to go to this track again in the playoffs. Keselowski wins, but hopefully next time when we go to Kansas it will be our final time in the NASCAR Heat 3 career mode at Kansas. We can maybe get a good finish there, but we dropped down, I think it said 9th in the points, so unfortunate. But I think in the next one we do have the Coca-Cola 600, a track where we can maybe start to build some momentum back, depending on what we're going to do with Martin Truex Jr. Do you guys want to see revenge on Truex at Charlotte? Make sure to leave a comment on that. But as always, if you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Those would all be very, very appreciated. I'd like to thank you all for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. So hopefully in the next one, I believe it is Charlotte anyways that we go to next, hopefully we can have a strong race. We've had 2 really rough races, and all really due to Martin Truex Jr. So we'll see how it goes. We definitely will be getting revenge now on Truex. He just continues to wreck us, and we want to get revenge, and then we want to be careful with him because we need to get this rivalry gone now as Jamie McMurray's the last car in the playoffs. We sit 4th in the playoffs, so nothing to be too disappointed about, as though we do sit 9th in the standings, as Cody Ware's just barely inside the top 30, putting him in the playoffs. So I will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you for watching, everybody, and have yourselves a great day.